Hello legends. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build and deploy a Zendesk app using AI. So we're going to be building a Zendesk app from scratch, and then we're going to be installing it into Zendesk so that your entire team can access it. So this video is going to be perfect for people that have no coding experience. So if you've never written code before, or if you've never even used a code editing tool, like you don't know where to start at all, well, I'm going to cover that from scratch today. And also most likely you're either a business owner who is using Zendesk for their customer support, or you're an agency who is using Zendesk, who has a client who is using Zendesk. And in both of these cases, you basically want to automate some of your ticket workflow by either integrating with different tools or by giving agents a hand within the ticket. So the example that we're going to cover today is going to be perfect for that. So before we get into things, I quickly want to show you that I actually made this app and I published it to Zendesk and I made it a paying app. So I'm not showing this to you so that you go and use it. I'm just showing it to you that I'm not a coding person. I learned to code by myself and I was able to figure out how to make this Zendesk app. So in this video, I want to be explaining things in such a basic way that if you're not a coder, you're not a developer or programmer, like you don't need to be that. In this video, it's going to be super basic and super easy. So this app that I built and published on a Zendesk marketplace actually is a sidebar app and a ticket editor app in one. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on actually building a sidebar app. So this is super popular. Heaps of people like sidebar apps and they're very easy to build. Hey guys, for those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Bart, and for the last 10 years, I've been building a global e-commerce brand with my 3 older brothers. And for like the last year and a half, I taught myself how to code, how to use low code, no code tools, and how to introduce AI into workflows. So now I work directly with businesses or AI agencies, writing custom scripts, custom web apps, or automating tasks with low code, no code tools like VoiceFlow and Make.com. So if you're a business owner and you want to automate some of your workflow, I've left my contact details in the description of this video, so feel free to reach out. All right, let's get back into it. So the prerequisites for completing this tutorial are: 1, you're going to need a Zendesk account. 2, we'll be using a code editing tool called Cursor AI, which you can download from cursor.com by pressing this button. And I'm going to link a video somewhere here about how to use Cursor AI for the first time. But in this video, I'm going to quickly brush over the basics anyway. Next, you'll need to download Node.js, which you can download from nodejs.org by pressing this button and then installing it on your computer. So just quickly to explain, what is Cursor AI and what is Node.js? Like, why do I need these things? So whenever you want to write some code or build an app or something like that, you need some kind of tool that's going to let you actually write code and execute code. And since we're going to be building an app for Zendesk, we'll be writing in JavaScript, which is just a language of code. Now, in order for us to actually run JavaScript, we're going to need something called Node.js. And you can think of JavaScript like a recipe and then Node.js like a kitchen. In order for you to actually cook this recipe, you're going to need to be in the kitchen, so you can have all different appliances. And finally, we're going to be using Zendesk CLI. So what is ZCLI? ZCLI is Zendesk Command Line Interface. So when we're actually working in our code editing tool, Zendesk gives you a bunch of Zendesk specific commands that'll help you build an app. So these are the instructions on how to install Zendesk Command Line Interface within our Cursor code editing tool. And if we scroll down some more, the main things that this ZCLI gives you are these 4 commands. So the awesome thing is that Zendesk gives you a super easy way for you to build and deploy apps. So when you first want to build an app with Zendesk, you run the command ZCLI space and then apps:create. And this is going to install a boilerplate app package on your computer that you can just take and then download it directly into your Zendesk. And then you'll be able to use that boilerplate in Zendesk, but all it's going to do is basically say, hello world. The value of this is you don't have to build out all the files, all the folders, and connect them all up from scratch. You just have to get that boilerplate and then edit a couple files, and then you have a full-blown app that will automate tasks for you. So this command will actually create a boilerplate app that we're going to be using. After we create this and we're happy with the results, we'll then run this command, which is just going to take this app and just see, hey, does it meet all the Zendesk requirements? And if we get any errors here, we just throw them into AI and figure it out. And then after we validate and everything looks good, we'll then use this command to basically package this app that we created so we can download it and then plug it directly into our Zendesk and then give our entire team access. So basically these commands are what make building an app super easy with Zendesk. Okay, so we've covered off the prerequisites. Now, what are we actually going to be building today? So I actually want to make this super exciting. We're going to be introducing AI into our ticket workflow. And we're doing that by building an app that takes all the comments on a ticket and then runs it across to ChatGPT to get a summary. So it's pretty basic, but by building this out together, not only will you have something that's functioning that you can use for your team starting today, but also you learn how to access specific details on the ticket, it then had to make an API call. And the more you get into building apps for your Zendesk, the more you realize that it's all about just accessing details on a ticket and then making API calls to different tools. Okay, so let's actually get into building this app. So once again, I'm going to assume that you have a Zendesk account. I've assumed that you've downloaded Cursor AI, and I've assumed that you've downloaded Node.js. So now I'm going to be opening up Cursor AI and installing the ZCLI. When you open up Cursor AI for the first time, just open up a new folder and just click New Folder. We want to create a brand new folder here for our app. So let's just call this Zendesk-app, click Create, and open up this folder. Now everything we're doing is going to be contained entirely within this folder. Now up here, I'm just going to press some of these tabs, so this middle tab and this side tab. The middle tab opens up a terminal, which is where we're going to be executing some of our functions. And then this side tab is where we can speak with AI to help us build this app out. Okay, now before I get into things, I'm going to go into the settings here. And over here, I've actually input a set of custom instructions for myself that when I code, not only do I get good quality code back, but I also get explanations about what's going on and what steps do I need to take that might not be evident for me. So sometimes when you're running code, you might need to install different packages into your Cursor tool. If you don't know what that means right now, it's just like, let's say you have a kitchen, you want to make a smoothie, you're going to need a blender, or you want to bake a cake, you're going to need an oven. So our kitchen doesn't have a blender, doesn't have an oven from scratch. So when you need to install those things, you just be running separate commands here. And I basically made this prompt that it tells you which commands to run. If you want this prompt, I'm going to leave a video up here somewhere, which actually explains how to install this prompt and give you some examples of how it works. Or you can just screenshot right now and then paste this into ChatGPT and tell it to write it out for you. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, so I'm just going to put some basic instructions into the AI so it can help me start building this app out. I want to build a Zendesk sidebar app. What do I need to do to start? I need to install ZCLI as well. Okay, awesome. So now we have our response from the AI. Now, once again, we had this command from the Zendesk docs before, but I wanted to show you that actually it's super easy to install this app from scratch, even without going to the docs. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it into my terminal and hit enter. And now all the packages to install ZCLI are going to be installed on my Cursor tool. Okay, awesome. So that's fully installed. So now there's this command here, which is ZCLI login. I'm also going to run this command so I can log into my Zendesk account through my Cursor tool. And that just means that when I create this new app, I'm going to be able to project it directly into my Zendesk account from within Cursor. I'm not going to have to like download and upload, then re-edit it and then re-upload it and then constantly go to that loop. I'll be able to make changes directly within my environment here and they'll be reflected directly within Zendesk in real time. So let's go ahead and run this command. Okay, it looks like we need to update what command we're running. So I'm going to copy this, paste it into here, and I'm going to enter my Zendesk details. So the first thing is we need the subdomain. So your subdomain is this thing here. So mine's got a crazy thing at the front of it because I've got a developer account, but most likely you just have something like Support Launchpad or, you know, whatever your business name is. So let's copy this and paste it in. Now the email, use your email account that you use to log into your Zendesk. And then for our API token, let's go into Zendesk. Let's go into these 4 buttons here, click on Admin Center, search up here and type in API. Now let's click on Zendesk API. And over here, let's go add API token. I'm going to call this Cursor-app. I'm going to copy this API token, hit save, go back into Cursor and paste this API token. Okay, I'm successfully logged in. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is run this command. So ZCLI apps new. Let's paste it into here. Let's hit enter. And now we have to import, okay, now we have to put the directory of where we want the app to live. So I'm just going to copy the exact same name of my folder now. So Zendesk/app, the author's name. So this is just basically setting up some app configuration. You can put your own name for now. Author's email. I'm just going to put my same email address as before. Website. I don't need a website. I'm just going to hit enter. And then name for this app, I'm just going to call it Zendesk-app-1. Okay, awesome. So now we've created the Zendesk app boilerplate within our main folder. So if I click this, now you can see that we've got assets, translations, manifest, readme, and this is the boilerplate. So I'm just going to open up assets as well. Now to explain this quickly, the iframe is this bit here. So this blue box, this is actually the iframe. This is the visual interface that you'll see for the app. And then within this assets folder, we'll also put something called a JavaScript file. So if we want to do any backend operations, like if we want to make the call to ChatGPT and give all of our comments, all that will be in a JavaScript file. So we're going to create that together as well. Looking at translation, so en.json, This is just the main information for your app. So pretty much like this stuff here that you see is this like long description here, then these installation instructions. This is what you see here. So you don't need to worry about this too much, especially if it's just going to be a local app for your own team. If you want to deploy this live, then you probably put some more thought into it. And then finally, manifest.json. So over here, we've got the basic app details. We've also got the location of where we want this app to be. So it's in a sidebar right now, but if we wanted to make it into a ticket editor or in some other locations, we would just append it into here. And you can see that it's actually loading up the assets /iframe.html, which is assets here, which is this folder, and then this iframe HTML. So it basically says for this app, serve this HTML. And then again, when we have the JavaScript that we put into the backend here, again, under assets, then the JavaScript will be appended to the iframe. So I'll show you exactly how that works later on. But like whenever you click a button and it does something, the button is the HTML, and then the does something bit is the JavaScript. And then over here is just some more configuration for the app. Now, one thing you have to be mindful of, we have this main folder here, which is called Zendesk-app, and then the subfolder called Zendesk-app. So over here, we get the instructions to CD into your app name. So CD means just basically open up that folder where our app is contained. So we want to open up this folder. So again, if I called this folder 1 and then I called this folder 2, right now this would say folder 1, and then I would just write CD and then I'll write folder 2. But because I'm a bit of a silly goose, I'm just going to write my folder 2 name, which is the same name as my main folder. So Zendesk-app. I'm going to hit enter. And now technically I am in my second app folder. So I'm in folder 2 right now, even though it looks the exact same. Once again, sorry guys, but it should make sense when you're doing it for yourself. Okay, now it's saying to install the dependencies. So dependencies are like those different equipment that you have in your kitchen. So let's say you want to make a smoothie, so you need a blender. You have to install the blender dependency. Let's say you need an oven to bake a cake. You need to install the oven dependency. So let's go ahead and run this, okay? And now let's go ahead and run ZCLI apps server. So this command is gonna basically let us run this app, which again is just a boilerplate app, so there's nothing special about it, but we'll be able to access it within our Zendesk interface. All right, so to run this, we're just gonna take this and append it to our Zendesk URL. So let's copy everything, including this question mark, Control C, go to Zendesk, and then up here, we're just gonna paste it into the URL. So we're gonna append it at the end. Now let's hit enter. We've refreshed. You can see this URL is still appended here. So if I just go into this random ticket, now on the right-hand side, you can see Zendesk-app-1. This is the app that we just created, and it says hello world. And let's go into this iframe so I can explain what this is. You can see here, it says hello world. So all this is really serving for us is just a basic HTML page, which just says hello world on it. And once again, this is exactly what it is. So technically speaking, this is the very first app now we have live on our Zendesk. It doesn't do anything, unfortunately. So let's actually give it some actions. Let's go back into cursor and scroll down a little bit. So you can see here, it actually gives you all of the instructions if you wanted to download this and turn it into your own app. But if we just keep going down a little bit, here we have a basic main.js, which is a main JavaScript file that will be doing all the main actions for us on this ticket. But I'm gonna scroll down a little bit further. I'm just gonna say, I want to create a main.js file that will take all the comments on the ticket and then send it to a ChatGPT completion step to get a summary for me, and then to display the results back in the iframe.html. So I'm also going to give it some instructions for what I want the HTML page to do. So I want the iframe.html to have a button that says summarise ticket, and then to have a text display box directly under the button to display the summarized ticket text. Let's hit enter. So now we should be able to generate an updated iframe.html file, as well as the JavaScript that we need to actually run this operation for us. So over here, we have the updated iframe file. So I'm just going to copy this, go across to iframe, which we are already in right now. I'm just going to copy all of this and backspace it, and then paste in our new iframe. Now, if I go to Zendesk and I just refresh, so I just press this refresh button here. Now you can see we have a button that says summarize ticket. So that was an immediate change and actually has some kind of hover effect here. So if I just click it, nothing's going to happen, so I don't have the JavaScript file, but at least we've changed the iframe. So now back in cursor, this is the actual JavaScript file that we need. So I'm going to copy this up here, and I'm going to create a new file, again, within this assets folder, So I'm just going to go new, and I'm just going to call this main.js. And I'm calling it main.js because that's what I told the AI I was going to call it. And the AI is referencing the main.js file here. So main.js, let's hit enter. And okay, once again, I'm just going to copy this and paste it into here. So now I'm going to scroll up and just see what's going on here. Okay, so we have a summarize ticket function. Okay, so let's see what happens now when we go to Zendesk. I'm just going to hit refresh. Let's press summarize ticket. Okay, so something's happening here. It's summarizing it. And we have a mock summary of the ticket. And we need to implement our actual ChatGPT API call. So at least that's working for now. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're defining a function called summarize ticket. And we're trying a bunch of stuff. So let's read these comments and see what's happening. So disable button and show loading state. So once we click the button, it's going to turn into that unclickable state what we saw before, and it says summarizing. So then we're going to use the client.get method. So this is just an internal Zendesk method to get all the comments on the ticket. So we don't need to know exactly what this is or how it works, but that's what it's doing here. So then after we get the ticket comments, we're then going to extract the ticket comments. And then here we're actually calling a new function, which is the ChatGPT function, which we've defined over here. Now it's empty, so we need to fill it up with something. But going back here, then we're displaying the results. So basically, we're disabling the button, we're taking all the comments from the ticket, we're then sending it to ChatGPT for a summary, and then we're displaying the results that we get from ChatGPT. Okay, so while we're here, let's now figure out this ChatGPT call. Okay, so over in OpenAI's documentation, I've just found the actual API call for a ChatGPT completion. So I'm going to copy this entire call, and back in cursor, I'm just going to paste it in. But first I'm going to say, can you now introduce this API call for ChatGPT? Here is an example. I'm going to put the example within quotation marks so it knows that's the specific example. And let's hit enter. All right, so now we have our get summary from ChatGPT. So this is the API call where we're sending our text across to our ChatGPT endpoint. But unfortunately, it's done something strange here. It's actually targeting some other URL, which we don't want to do. And it's setting up another environment here. Okay, so now it's setting up a server. Okay, so what's happening here is, so over here, it's actually assuming that we have a separate server where we're running this core function on, and it's given us an example of how that server would look. But the cool thing is we can actually run this API call directly within this Zendesk app. So how the Zendesk app is going to work, it can actually execute within your browser. So when you're going on a web page, and you're interacting and pressing buttons and doing different things. Actually, there's JavaScript running in the background. And most often, the JavaScript can be run within the web browser itself. Because the web browser usually has Node.js built in, so you can actually run some of these JavaScript functions. So what we're going to be doing is prompting this AI saying, hey, we're not running a separate server, so we're not running code somewhere completely different. I actually want to execute the function directly within the Zendesk app. I'm not using a separate server. Let's make the API call within the Zendesk app itself. Okay, let's hit send. So now we get some information here saying, hey, if you're running the API call directly from your Zendesk app, then your API key might be exposed, so it's a little bit less secure. So yes, your two options are either one, make a separate server with a separate code where things are a little bit more private, or number two, Zendesk has some built-in functionality to make keys a little bit more private. But I'm not going to be focusing on that for now. I'm just going to be running this in a little bit less secure way, just for the purpose of this video, to not get too confusing and too complex. But once you build this out, then yes, you can make your security key private and still run your code directly from your app. So scrolling down, now let's get to here. Okay, so now we have the function call implemented and we have our API key, which we're going to be storing here. And yes, it's not going to be secure, but that's okay for now. So let's copy this and go to main.js, copy everything, backspace, and paste in our new function. Now let's quickly get our API key and insert it into here. So from your OpenAI dashboard, let's go to API keys. Let's create a new key. And I'm going to call this Zendesk-app, create key. Let's copy it. Let's hit done. Now back in cursor, let's paste in our API key here. Let's backspace that and paste it in. And now within Zendesk, let's refresh our app. So we should have the new functionality enabled. And let's see what happens. Let's just hit summarize. Okay, so customer Bart has reported receiving a damaged red shirt and is seeking a replacement. So there you go. We actually have the summary of the ticket. So this is a basic ticket. Let's actually check out something more complicated. Let's go back into our inbox. Okay, here, so I have a ticket that has multiple replies and messages from the agent and the customer. Scrolling down, let's go ahead and summarize this ticket. Okay, so that was super fast. So Chiprezi reported an issue with his Wi-Fi, and then some other things happened. And you can basically see this is the summary of the ticket, and that was super fast. So now I actually want to take this app and install it in Zendesk. So I'm going to go to here and I'm going to hit Control and C, and I'm ending that little server. So now my app's not going to be visible in Zendesk. So if I go back here and I hit refresh, my app is not visible. And if you want to go back into your regular Zendesk environment, let's just take away this, what we appended before. So everything up to that question mark. Now let's hit enter. And when the page refreshes, now you have your previous apps, whatever you had before. So back in cursor, let's run ZCLI apps : validate. And let's see if we get any errors. Okay, so I messed up that command. Let me just confirm. What is the ZCLI apps validate command? Let me just copy this and see what happens here. Maybe I spelled it incorrectly, but okay. No validation errors. Okay, so our app is actually perfect and ready to go. Now let's run ZCLI space apps and package. Now hopefully I spelt this stuff correctly. I don't get another error. Okay, I seem to be getting errors all the time. So let me just get this. I don't know what's going on with my writing. I want to run this command. So I must be doing something. What am I doing? ZCLI apps package. Doesn't even matter. The AI is right there to help me. Okay, so let's run ZCLI apps package. And now the app was packaged and it has this name over here. So I'm just gonna copy this zip file. Now back in Zendesk, let's go into our admin panel, go into admin center. Now to install this app, let's go to here and type in app. Scroll down to Zendesk support apps. Now on the right-hand side, let's go to upload private app. And for the app name, I'm just gonna call it Zendesk-app-1. Super creative. Then I'm going to choose the file. I'm going to find that specific zip file that I had before. So I'm just going to click it and open it. Awesome. Let's click upload. Let's click upload again. And finally, let's click install to install this app. Wicked. So now our app is installed. Let's go back to one of our tickets. Let's click refresh here. And there we go. We can actually see our app. Now let's test it out to make sure it works. And there we go. We actually have a summary again, and we built out a complete Zendesk sidebar app in no time at all. We've just built a Zendesk app totally from scratch that will summarize our tickets using ChatGPT. Now, if this was a little bit too complicated for you, or you want a more sophisticated app, feel free to reach out to me and get me to build an app for you. I've left my contact details in the description of this video. All right, thank you guys. See ya.